Hi everyone, today we are taking a look at patch 10.1.5 which will be launching on the 11th of July for NA servers and the 12th of July for EU. The new patch is bringing with it lots of new endgame content, new features, additional systems and quality of life updates. So if there's something specific you'd like to see, be sure to check the timestamps of this video. Let's dive straight in with probably the most highly anticipated new arrival, Augmentation Evokers. In patch 10.1.5, Evokers will gain access to a third spec called Augmentation, which is an entirely new style of spec that focuses more on support. Augmentation Evokers still count as DPS, but a lot of their damage will come indirectly from buffing the damage of other players. Add-ons like Details that can track DPS will soon have new hooks integrated into them to allow for more accurate recordings of Augmentation Evoker damage based on this unique playstyle. The new spec makes use of mostly black and bronze magic, but they still share a few similarities with the other two Evoker specs, in that they also use mana and essences as resources, they have empowered abilities, and they have strong mobility too. A couple of their new abilities that make up part of their core rotation are Ebon Might, which buffs up to 4 players to increase their primary stat by a percentage of their own, and buffing their damage for a short time. There are also then a handful of abilities that can be used to extend the duration of Ebon Might without the need to recast it. For example, Eruption is the only new Essence Spender augmentation we'll see, which deals volcanic damage to enemies within its radius and extends the duration of Ebon Might. Upheaval. This is an empowered ability that also deals AoE damage and extends Ebon Might. And Fire Breath. This is the regular Evoker Fire Breath, but it will also extend Ebon Might's duration when used in Augmentation spec. In terms of buffs, Augmentation Evokers can make use of Shifting Sands to grant a strong versatility buff to a player, preferring damage dealers, whenever they use an empowered ability. They can also grant Prescience to multiple allies at once, which gives them a crit buff for a short time. They have lots of other abilities and buffs too, which are listed in the link in the description below. The next addition to patch 10.1.5 is the new 8-boss mega dungeon called Dawn of the Infinite. Players will work with the Bronze Dragonflight to fight an array of bosses including Iridicron, Morchi, the infinite or evil version of Chromie, and Chronoloord Deus, who players also fight in Alderman Legacy of Tyr. Each boss is very unique in design, and the environment and art of the dungeon is visually stunning too. There will be a dungeon guide coming out for the Dawn of the Infinite on my channel soon, so be sure to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to stick around for that. Blizzard have said that there won't be a hard mode version of this dungeon, unlike Mechagon from BFA or Tazavesh from Shadowlands, as they have tuned it to be in line with hard mode on Mythic difficulty anyway, and for an easier time, the heroic version of the dungeon will be released in patch 10.1.7. They have also confirmed that the Dawn of the Infinite will inevitably be split into 2 halves for the sake of entering them into the Mythic Plus dungeon pool in the future. Players will also have a chance to loot a new item called the Reins of the Quantum Courser from the new Mega Dungeon, which, when used, will give the user a random mount from the game. As of the time of this video, we don't yet have a confirmed list of all the mounts that could drop from the Quantum Courser, but recent data mining has suggested a list of possible mounts, which include both dungeon and raid mounts from previous expansions. Note that this list is completely speculative and nothing is confirmed just yet. We also don't know yet what the drop chance is of the Quantum Courser, or if it is possible to give you a mount that you already have on your account, but nonetheless, it's a nice addition for mount collectors, and may potentially eliminate the need for mount farming in old content in some rare cases. Speaking of mounts, the Dawn of the Infinite will also allow players a chance to loot new customization manuscripts for their Dragonriding mounts, adding a new Infinite Dragonflight skin colour to each of the dragons, including the Winding Slitherdrake from patch 10.1. The last cool thing you can get from the Mega Dungeon are Quantum Gear items that, similar to the Quantum Courser, will give the user a random appearance in that slot from a previous expansion. Much like the mount version, we don't yet know about which items will be eligible in the loot table and which ones won't, but we can confidently assume the transmog items will drop much more often than the Quantum Courser, so it's a good day to be a transmog collector. Another new addition to patch 10.1.5 are the Time Rift World events. These events spawn at the top of every hour, and they can be accessed by heading to the Tierhold Reservoir in Thaldraszus. Once there, report to Soridormi to get started. You'll be given objectives to complete within a time limit, and the more you complete, the better your reward will be, similar to how the Researchers Under Fire weekly event works in the Zaralek Caverns. Once the timer is up, a portal will spawn in the Tierhold Reservoir that will take you to the final boss of the event. I tested a couple of these time rifts on the PTR, and each one is dedicated to a specific expansion, and some bosses are currently much more difficult than others. For example, I managed to solo Freya in my first time rift, but during the second, I had to fight the Lich King and I barely lasted 10 seconds. These events are designed for large groups to work on together, again, much like the Zaralek Weekly or the Primal Storm from patch 10.0.5. Completing a time rift will grant you a bunch of rewards, including a rep token for reputation with Soridormi, which is new to the game, a dilated time capsule and 1000 paracausal flakes, which are 2 new currencies which can be exchanged at the vendors in the Tierhold Reservoir for item level 402 catch-up gear, and a ton of cosmetic rewards including mounts, pets and transmog. You can also loot an item called Encapsulated Destiny, which guarantees loot from completing a time rift, independently of the reward cash you earn. Once I had the Encapsulated Destiny active and completed a time rift, I was given the Reins of the Scourgebound Vanquisher, a new mount that is otherwise available for paracausal flakes. If you want more of these guaranteed loot tokens, you can complete a daily quest with Chromie at the Everywhen Inn near the Temporal Conflux. Her daily is super simple to complete and rewards another Encapsulated Destiny, along with Soridormi rep and some more paracausal flakes. Patch 10.1.5 is also introducing another track for the gear upgrade system we were introduced to in patch 10.1, allowing players to now increase the item level of gear pieces up to 447, as long as the gear piece falls in the Myth level upgrade track. You can get Myth level gear from Mythic Raid, Mythic Plus dungeons at a level 16 or higher, and the very rare loot drops from the raid on heroic difficulty will also fall into the new Myth track, allowing you to fully upgrade these items to 447. The Myth track upgrades will cost you Flightstones and Aspect's Shadowflame crests, which are the highest quality crests you can get from higher level endgame content. Moving on, Warlocks are getting a lot of love in patch 10.1.5, starting with the class itself becoming available to every race in the game. This means that Night Elves, Draenei, Lightforged Draenei, Pandaren, Kultiran, Tauren, High Mountain Tauren, Mag'har Orcs and Zandalari Trolls will all be able to be Warlocks when patch 10.1.5 launches. In terms of lore, there is some controversy among the player base about certain races becoming Warlocks, namely Lightforged Draenei and Mag'har Orcs, but at least in terms of gameplay, Warlock mains will now have full reign over which racials they prefer for a given spec and the content they like to play. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this. Warlocks are also going to be able to customize the various demons they can summon after completing a new Warlock-specific questline in patch 10.1.5. You can gather more customization options for each of your minions by collecting grimoires from various types of content. Some grimoires are simply replacing the old glyph versions and offer the same skin for their corresponding demons, but others may come from a drop, from a vendor, from time walking, from an event, or from a quest, and there's lots to choose from. The rest of the new features in patch 10.1.5 are mostly quality of life improvements, but I did want to give an honourable mention to the Kalimdor Grand Prix, which will unlock Dragonriding races throughout Kalimdor zones. These will only be available during the Grand Prix event, and players can earn exclusive rewards by farming the Grand Prix for the new currency called Riders of Azeroth badges. Finally, patch 10.1.5 is introducing a whole host of UI changes and quality of life updates, starting off with the new in-game micro menu now being in colour rather than the previously grayscale menu. There's also an updated graphic for the rested buff players get when inside a rest area, shown in the corner of their unit frame. During combat, your abilities on your action bar show new graphics for cast time and will also glow differently when the game is prompting you to press them, such as when you get a proc. Personally, I found this feature a little distracting, but hopefully it's helpful for new players or players learning a new spec. We will also be getting a Sell All Junk button in the default vendor window. This feature will automatically sell any poor quality items in your inventory, which are the grey items, but anything that is uncommon or higher will be kept. Hopefully this feature will eventually have some player-based configuration involved to let each player specify what constitutes junk and what doesn't. So there we have it, that is everything new coming to Dragonflight in patch 10.1.5. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thank you so much for watching, have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!